The smell of slow-cooked beef still hung in the air, warm, rich, familiar. It should have felt like home. But that night it didn't. I sat quietly at the same wooden table where I had eaten dinner with my family for nearly 3 decades. The same table where birthdays were celebrated, where laughter once filled the room. Now there was only silence. Heavy, uncomfortable silence. My mother's fingers tapped lightly against her wine glass. Tap, tap, tap. Each sound sharper than the last. My father avoided my eyes completely, staring down at the table like he was preparing for something. And my brother, Michael, he looked way too comfortable. Almost like he had already won something. "Sarah," my mother finally spoke, her voice carefully controlled. That tone, the one she used when she had already made up her mind. "We need to talk about your house." I blinked slowly. My house? For a second, I thought I misheard her. But no, this was exactly what I had been expecting. The late-night phone calls that stopped when I walked in. The family discussions I was never invited to. Michael suddenly asking questions about my neighborhood. It all made sense now. "What about it?" I asked calmly, even though something cold was already settling in my chest. My father cleared his throat, finally speaking. "Your brother is getting married." I said nothing. "He and Emma need a proper place to start their life," he continued. "Something stable, something respectable." I reached for my glass of water, taking a slow sip. The ice clicked softly against the glass. "They can't afford a place?" I asked. My mother's expression tightened instantly. "Don't be difficult," she snapped. "Emma's family has expectations. They care about status, presentation." Of course they did. Emma came from money. Old money. The kind that smiled politely while silently judging everything. I had seen the way they looked at Michael. Like he wasn't enough. And now my family was trying to fix that. Using me. "And my house meets their standards?" I asked. Michael leaned forward, finally joining in. "It's perfect, actually," he said casually. "Great neighborhood, good schools nearby, plenty of space." He shrugged. "Honestly, you don't even need all that. You're just one person. Just one person." The words hung in the air like an insult wrapped in politeness. I set my glass down slowly. "I bought that house myself," I said, my voice steady. "Every payment. Every bill. Every repair." My father quickly reached into a folder and slid it across the table. "And we respect that," he said. "That's why we're offering to pay you back." I opened the folder and immediately felt my jaw tighten. The number inside, it wasn't even close. "This is way below market value," I said, looking up at them. "It's family," my mother replied sharply. "We're not trying to make money off you. We're trying to help your brother." I held her gaze. "And what about helping me?" Michael let out a quiet laugh. "Come on, Sarah," he said. "You'll be fine. You can just buy another place, something smaller. Something that fits your situation." The way he said that word, situation, like my life was somehow lacking. Like being single made me less important, less deserving. I slowly closed the folder. "I'm not selling my house." Silence. This time it was louder. My mother's tapping stopped completely. My father's jaw clenched. Even Michael's confident expression flickered, just for a second. Then my mother leaned forward, her voice colder than before. "This isn't a request." I didn't respond. "Your brother needs that house more than you do," she continued. "So you're going to sign it over, or don't bother coming back to this family." For a moment, no one moved. No one breathed. Then I stood up. Slowly, calmly, I picked up my purse, sliding the folder inside without another word. "I see," I said quietly. My father sighed in frustration. "Don't make this dramatic. We're trying to do what's best for everyone." I looked at him. Everyone except me. Michael leaned back in his chair, clearly irritated now. "There's nothing to think about," he said. "Emma is already planning renovations." That stopped me. I turned slowly. "She's what?" My mother hesitated, just for a second. "We showed her the house last week," she admitted. "While you were at work." The room suddenly felt too small. Too tight. They had been inside my home, walking through my rooms, making plans, decisions. Without me. "I need to go," I said, my voice controlled but barely. As I reached the door, my mother called out one last time. "Sarah, don't make this harder than it needs to be. Family requires sacrifice." I paused, then turned back, just for a moment. I looked at all of them. The people who were supposed to protect me, who now saw me as nothing more than an opportunity. A resource. "You're right," I said softly. "Family does require sacrifice." Then I walked out. The cool night air hit my face as I stepped outside. My heels clicked against the pavement, each step steady, deliberate. But the moment I reached my car, everything hit at once. I sat there in silence, gripping the steering wheel. Then slowly, I reached for my phone. There was one number I had saved for a long time. Just in case. I dialed. "Marcus," I said when he answered. "It's Sarah." A small pause. "Remember that investment discussion we had?" Another pause. "Good," I said, my voice calm now. Controlled. "Because I'm ready." I looked back at the house I had built, the life I had created on my own. "They think I have no choice," I whispered. Then I smiled slightly. "Let's prove them wrong." I didn't go back inside right away. Instead, I sat in my car, engine off, phone still in my hand. For a moment, everything was quiet. Too quiet. Then Marcus spoke again, his voice sharp and focused. "How fast do you want this done?" I didn't hesitate. "By morning." There was a short pause on the other end, then a low chuckle. "All right," he said. "Then we move tonight." I ended the call and leaned back in my seat, staring at the ceiling of my car. They thought I was alone, that I had nothing, that I would break under pressure. They had no idea what I had been building, quietly, patiently for years. I finally stepped out of the car and walked toward my house. My house. The one they had already started planning to take from me. Inside, everything was exactly as I left it. The soft glow of the chandelier. The polished wooden floors. The kitchen that had seen countless late nights and early mornings. Every corner held proof of my work. My sacrifice. I poured myself a glass of wine and stood by the window, looking out into the dark street. "Over my dead body," I whispered. Morning came faster than expected. Sharp. Clear. Unforgiving. The kind of morning that feels like something big is about to happen. I got ready slowly, deliberately. Charcoal suit. Simple makeup. Hair pulled back neatly. Control. Precision. Power. When I checked my phone, it was chaos. Missed calls. Dozens of them. Messages stacked on top of each other. Mom. Dad. Michael. I didn't open a single one. Instead, I made coffee calm, steady, like it was any normal day. At exactly 8:30 a.m., the doorbell rang. Right on time. I opened the door to find Marcus standing there, holding a sleek leather briefcase. "Everything's done," he said as he walked in. We moved to the dining table. The same table where my family had just tried to take everything from me. Now it felt different. Marcus placed the documents in front of me and opened the case. "You are now the official owner of Highland Property Management," he said. I allowed myself a small smile. "And the notices?" I asked. "Already delivered," he replied, checking his watch. "Should reach them about now." As if on cue, my phone started vibrating. "Michael. Calling again." I stared at the screen for a second, then answered. "Where are you?" he snapped immediately. "Mom and Dad are freaking out. We need to finish this house situation today." I took a slow sip of my coffee before replying. "I'm at home," I said calmly. "In my house." "Stop playing games," he said. "We had an understanding." "No," I corrected softly. "You had a plan." I never agreed to anything. There was noise in the background. Voices. Panic. Then my mother's voice, sharp and shaken. "Michael, get here right now." He hesitated. "What's going on?" he asked. I leaned back slightly in my chair. "You should probably go find out," I said. Then I ended the call. Marcus smirked. "How long do you think it'll take them to understand?" I asked. He adjusted his tie. 3 minutes, he said. Maybe less. My phone exploded. Messages flooding in. "Mom, what did you do?" "Dad, call me immediately." "Michael, this better be a joke." I placed my phone face down on the table. And waited. 10 minutes later, a car screeched into my driveway. Loud. Aggressive. Not even a second passed before the front door burst open. Michael stormed in, papers in his hand, face red with anger. "What is this?" he shouted. I looked at him calmly. "Our rent just doubled," he continued, waving the notice. I tilted my head slightly. "Did it?" I said. "That must be Highland Property Management." His expression froze. "You know about it?" he asked. I folded my hands on the table. "I should," I replied. "I bought it this morning." Silence. Heavy. Crushing silence. "They manage a lot of properties in this area," I continued, "including Mom and Dad's house and your apartment." He took a step back, like the ground shifted under him. "You can't do this," he said, his voice weaker now. I slid a document across the table. "Actually," I said quietly, "I can." He stared at it, but didn't touch it. "Your lease is up next month," I added. We should probably discuss new terms. This is insane, he muttered. Is it? I asked. Before he could respond, voices filled the doorway. My parents. Both of them, holding identical notices, faces pale with shock. Sarah, my mother said, her voice trembling. What have you done? I stood up slowly. Calm. Composed. The complete opposite of them. I made a business decision, I said. You became our landlord? My father asked, disbelief clear in his voice. At market value, I replied. The same way you valued my house, remember? Michael slammed his hand on the table. This is blackmail. I looked at him directly. No, I said. This is business. The room fell silent again. But this time, the power had shifted. Completely. I glanced at Marcus, who stepped forward and opened his briefcase once more. Now, I said, my voice steady and controlled. Let's talk about something more interesting. I placed another set of documents on the table. The renovation plans for my house. My mother's face lost all color. Michael froze. And for the first time, they looked afraid. The room went completely still. No one moved. No one spoke. My mother's hands trembled slightly as she gripped the papers. Michael looked like he had just been caught doing something he couldn't explain. And my father, for the first time in my life, he looked unsure. I let the silence stretch. Then slowly, I opened the folder in front of me and spread the photos across the table. Clear images. Michael and Emma, inside my house. Walking through my living room. Pointing at walls. Measuring spaces. Discussing what to change, what to remove. What is this? My father asked, his voice low. I met his eyes. Evidence, I said calmly. Of you entering my home without permission, and planning to take it. Michael immediately snapped. We had a key, he argued. For emergencies, I replied. Not for staging a takeover. My mother shook her head, trying to regain control. You're overreacting, she said. We're family. No. I cut in, my voice sharp but steady. Family doesn't do this. The words landed hard. My father straightened slightly, his old authority returning, but weaker now. What do you want? He asked. There it was. Finally. I slid a new folder toward him. Inside you'll find 3 documents, I said. He opened it slowly. First, a written agreement that my house is not, and never will be, up for discussion again. I paused. Second, updated lease agreements for all your properties. Market value. No exceptions. Michael scoffed under his breath, but said nothing. Third, I continued, a formal family contract. My mother frowned. What does that even mean? It means boundaries, I said. Clear ones. Financial, personal, all of it. My father looked up. And if we don't sign? I smiled slightly. Then you'll need to find somewhere else to live. Silence. Again. But this time it felt final. Michael suddenly stepped forward, anger boiling over. This is insane. You're tearing this family apart. Before he could come any closer, Marcus stepped between us smoothly. I wouldn't do that, he said quietly. That could turn into something legal. Michael stopped. Clenched fists. Heavy breathing. But he stepped back. My mother's voice broke the tension. You're destroying us, she whispered. I shook my head. No, I said softly. I'm showing you consequences. I turned to my father. You always taught me that actions have results, I added. I just listened better than you expected. He looked down at the papers again, his hands slightly shaking. We don't really have a choice, do we? He asked quietly. I tilted my head. There's always a choice, I said. Just like I had one last night. I let that sink in. One by one, I continued. Or we can take this further. The clock in the corner ticked loudly. Seconds passing, heavy, slow. Then finally, my father picked up the pen. Signed. My mother followed. Reluctant. Silent. Michael was last. He stared at me the entire time, anger burning in his eyes. Then, aggressively, he signed his name. The sound of the pen hitting the table echoed through the room. Get out, I said quietly. No one argued. No one protested. They just left. Defeated. The door closed behind them with a soft click. And just like that, it was over. For now. Marcus let out a low whistle as he gathered the papers. Remind me never to be on your bad side, he said. I didn't respond. Instead, I walked over to my chair, the same one Emma had planned to throw away, and sat down slowly. They never saw it coming, I said. Marcus smirked. What's next? He asked. I leaned back slightly, looking around my home. My home. A small pause. This wasn't just about the house, I said quietly. It was about respect. He nodded. And now? I looked toward the window. Now we finish it. A week later, everything exploded. Calls, messages, rumors. Family members suddenly very interested in my mental state. Concerned voices, fake sympathy. I ignored all of it, because I was busy, preparing phase 2. The next evening, my living room was full again. But this time, I was ready. Everyone was there. My parents, Michael, extended family, even Emma, sitting quietly, clearly uncomfortable. I stood in front of them, calm, in control. "Thank you for coming," I said. Michael rolled his eyes. "If this is another power move." "It's not," I interrupted. "This is about the truth." I connected my laptop to the screen behind me. Numbers appeared. Transactions. Records. Cold. Clear evidence. "What you're looking at," I said, "is my trust fund." My father stiffened immediately. "That's not finished." I cut in. Closed. Settled. I clicked to the next slide. More data. Transfers. Accounts. All leading to one place. "Michael. $3 million, I said calmly. "That's how much was taken." The room went silent. Emma slowly stood up. "I didn't know about this," she whispered. "No," I said. "You didn't." I looked directly at my parents. But they did. My mother tried to speak, but nothing came out. My father finally did. "We were protecting the family," he said weakly. I shook my head. "No," I replied. "You were protecting him." I gestured toward Michael. "At my expense." Marcus stepped forward with a team of lawyers. That's when it became real. "Two options," I said. "Pay everything back with interest and sign legal acknowledgement." I paused. "Or we go to court." Shock. Fear. Silence. "You'd send your own family to jail," someone whispered. I didn't hesitate. "If I have to." The next day, they all came back. One by one. And signed. Michael came last. Emma wasn't with him. "She left," he muttered. "Called off the engagement." I looked at him for a moment. "Actions have consequences," I said quietly. Months later, everything had changed. My parents downsized. Michael got a job, a real one. And me. I grew stronger, expanded my business, and started something new, a foundation to help women like me own their homes. Because no one should ever feel like they can be pushed out of what they built. 1 year later, I stood in my house, surrounded by people who respected me. Not because they had to, but because they chose to. I raised my glass slightly. "To knowing your worth," I said. "And never letting anyone take it from you." Glasses clinked. Laughter filled the room. Real warmth. Not forced. Not fake. And as I stood there, in my home, my space, I realized something simple. They tried to take everything from me. But in the end, they gave me something far more powerful. The strength to stand alone.